Reports from Iraq say Sunni insurgents have gained control of the country's biggest oil refinery after launching a dawn assault. Production had already been shut down at the plant in Beji in Salahuddin province. Foreign workers were told to leave for their own safety on Tuesday after it was surrounded by rebel forces. Well, black smoke has been seen rising from the plant after an army helicopter hit a fuel tank and set it on fire. In a moment, we'll be speaking to Richard Galpin in Baghdad for the very latest on what's going on in Beji. But first, this special report from the BBC's Paul Wood and cameraman Steve Adrain, who were caught up in the fighting in the town of Jalula.
East of Baghdad, a strategically vital battle is being fought. These are Kurdish forces. They're trying to help the Iraqi army stop ISIS from marching on the capital. This is Jalula. The next town is in the hands of ISIS. The Kurds believe there are a small number of foreign jihadis backed by about 600 Sunni tribal fighters. At the Kurdish base, the general begs a Sunni sheikh to switch sides. He asks them to abandon ISIS to avoid the bloodshed that is surely coming. It doesn't work. The Kurds know they have to stop ISIS here, or the jihadis will go into the nearby town of Bakuba. The Iraqi army is making a desperate stand there. It's the last big town before the capital. The Kurds send reinforcements to the front line. We stay behind in Jalula. The town's secure, they say. Down! They spot movement. 3 or 4 gunmen.
Guys, come with me! Come with me!
Down here! Bullets seem to come in from 2 or 3 directions at once. Snipers, they say. The Peshmerga thought they had secured this place, but they've just been told of 75 vehicles with ISIS fighters making their way here to try to cut them off. The battle's going backwards and forwards. Things are still very fluid here. We are with half a dozen men who are trapped with ISIS on 3 sides. You need to find the most senior commander you can find and get them to get the troops. Can you hear me? There's growing panic. They think the jihadis are coming in through the back of the building. They're right there, he says. They're behind us. Can't you see them? A man was shot through the leg. He survived. Eventually, the fighting starts to die down. The cause was probably just a few gunmen left behind by ISIS in Jalula. It was not the mass attack the Kurdish troops feared. But it is in skirmishes like this, in small towns on the road to the capital, that the fate of Baghdad may be decided. Paul Wood, BBC News, in eastern Iraq.
Let's go live to Baghdad. The BBC's Richard Galpin is there. Richard, a taste there from Paul Wood and his team of the extraordinary intensity of the fighting that's going on in different parts of the country. I just want to ask you, though, first of all, about what's going on at Beji, because we're getting conflicting reports. One press source at the Salahuddin province has said that Sunni armed groups asked the guards at the oil refinery to keep it open and keep supplying people with oil derivatives. But someone at the counter-terrorism department has said that they are now in full control. Do we know who is in control there?
It's very difficult to know exactly from here, but all I can say is that our source very clearly said that essentially the militants attacked in the morning and they killed the guards, we presume soldiers, who were supposed to be protecting the refinery, and our source said that the militants were now in control of it. He also said that the army responded to the attack by sending up a helicopter, at least one, which fired rockets, one of which hit an oil storage tank, which of course caught fire. Now, as you say, official sources, or particularly the security sources, are saying to us, no, this is not true at all, that the security forces managed to beat back the attack by the Islamist militants. They killed a large number of them, and the security forces remain fully in control of the refinery. We also have spoken now to a spokesperson for the Ministry of Oil here in Baghdad. He said he was not clear who was in control of the refinery, but one thing he added was that if it were to be closed down, then it would have an impact on power supplies in Iraq.
Yes, one report here is saying that the Sunni militants have, in any case, asked them to keep the refinery going. Richard, we'll come back to you for an update very soon. Thanks for now, though. Well, thousands of people have fled their homes as the fighting has intensified across Iraq. Many have headed for Erbil, the capital of Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish region. Rami Rahim has been to the rapidly expanding refugee camp on the outskirts there.
Just a few days ago, it was mostly people from Mosul in this camp. But as the fighting spread, others have arrived from further away. And we're hearing the same story over and over again. A militant takeover of their areas, followed by airstrikes by the Iraqi army and the flight of civilians.
نريد نرجع للموصل، نريد نرجع لبيوتنا. احنا ما نخاف الا من نور المالكي وجماعته. احنا ما نخاف من داعش، كل شيء ما استلمنا. 3 ايام نايمين على القاع.
Nidal is saying that she's been here for 3 days and she hasn't received any aid. She wants to go home. She says she fears nothing from the militants.
النفط البترول
وغير النفط.
كله رخيص.
كل شيء عادي.
المواد الطماطم ب 500 دينار.
Bashir and Nidal are telling me that Mosul is in much better shape after the militants took it over. Prices of petrol and prices of tomatoes and prices, everything has become cheaper in Mosul after the militants came in. They're only afraid of shelling and airstrikes by the Iraqi army.
هاي بالسرة عرف A بعدين عرف B بعدين عرف 50 عائلة استلم كل أشهر.
Yesterday we spoke to this foreign journalist with all the agencies. They're no use. They just come, ask a couple of questions and go. All this journalism thing, it's a failure.
كلهم شغلتهم فاشل صحفي. عسى السينمات دلوقتي بخلوا خلينا يمك هناك.
نزلنا من القصف يعني الطيار لحد
We fled the bombing.
يقصف قضاء تل أحفر ويزتون صواريخ.
The plane bombed Tel Afar. They shelled a hospital and houses. People were scattered all over. Look at them. They went everywhere, not just here. No one stayed in Tel Afar.
يعني بكل مكان راحوا العالم ما بقى حد بتل أحفر العالم كله انهزم.
Rami Rahim there with that report just outside within a refugee area, of course. The Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki is due to be appearing on television with Sunni and Kurdish leaders to issue a call for national unity. But is it too late for him to reach out to Iraq's Sunni population? I put that question to our correspondent Jim Muir, who's in Erbil.
It could well have reached that point. The Sunnis who took part in that meeting in Baghdad last night are not people who are representative of what's going on the ground. In fact, the Speaker of Parliament was there, for example, Mr. Najafi. He can't go back to Mosul, and his brother, the governor of Mosul, had to flee as well. So they are kind of basically cut off from their grassroots themselves. So they can't really speak on behalf of the many Sunnis who feel disenfranchised by this Shia. Immensely influential. It's been welding these Shia militia together who are fighting alongside security forces. If Iran wants to see Iraq break up into its component parts, a Shia-dominated south, perhaps a mixed capital, Baghdad, Sunni areas to the west and north, and of course the Kurds more or less going the independence trail here in the north, Well, that is happening. It's almost there. They don't have to push very much harder. If they, on the other hand, want Iraq to pull together, to stabilize, they will have to do a lot of work at the center there to convince Mr. Maliki, to perhaps even get him to step down in favor of a less divisive figure. So Iran has a key role to play. The Americans know that. That's why also the British are opening an embassy in Tehran. They need at least a channel of communication with the outside power that undoubtedly has the strongest influence on the ground.
Jim Muir there in Erbil. Well, there is a special edition of Global here on BBC World News later today, looking at all the implications of the Iraq crisis, whether Nouri al-Maliki's government can indeed survive. That is from 1500 GMT here on World News. If you can't watch on television, it's also being streamed live at the website bbc.com/news. Aaron is here, still talking oil, because this refinery potentially a very big hit if it's lost.
A quarter of the country's capacity, refining capacity, and Iraq itself, of course, the fifth largest reserves in the world. Hello there. Financial markets, they are intensely watching the events in Iraq, where its biggest oil refinery has been shut down and foreign staff have been evacuated. The shutdown will starve parts of the country of fuel, more importantly, power, certainly as the uprising by Sunni insurgents threatens Iraq's survival as a state. Now, I want to show you this. This is a 1 month chart of NYMEX light sweet crude, just to give you an illustration of the swift reaction to the events in Iraq. You can see that sharp rise of 4% just last week. It was a similar story for Brent crude. This week, I should say, the price, though, has steadied on Brent, steadied a little in Iraq's oil refineries in the south, which process most of the country's 3.3 million barrels of oil exports every single day. They have so far escaped the fighting, but how long will that last? That is something we're keeping across, and we should see more reaction on the oil price today, given those attacks overnight and earlier this morning.